On this episode of That Kingsville Podcast, we've got Mayor Nelson Santos in-house again. We talk about the hottest button topic in the entire town. Division Road is opening up again. No, wait, it's the Kingsville Santa Claus Parade controversy. We also talk a little bit about greenhouse lights. Join us next on That Kingsville Podcast. Thanks for listening to That Kingsville Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Hunt, and with me is Kevin Black and Steve Ianson. And today, another special guest in the studio with us, gentlemen, Mayor Nelson Santos. Thank you again for joining us, Mayor. Woo. Okay.
It's great to see you.
There's your round of thanks for attending yet again.
I
gave the clap.
Good. Wow. Should we give, we need some did we have canned applause, Gary? We need some canned applause.
He had it right in the intro.
Oh,
yeah.
Perfect. See?
Sorry.
See, 3-time guest on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
3-time.
I am charmed.
So what happens when you're the mayor?
He's catching me up.
Listen, if you want to know
when you need to know.
If you want to know, you go right to the mayor.
Yeah.
So, I went to Zares, but anyway.
Oh.
Why?
I don't know.
Sounds
Where all the gossip
I
comes
don't
from.
know. I like to go to Leah Maria's so that I can support local.
Shameless plug. We aren't even 60 seconds into the show. And I haven't even plugged our real sponsor. Shout out to Kingsville Brewery, featuring refreshing premium beers. Perfect for having a couple of pints with your pals, crafted with natural, clean ingredients. Their award-winning beer is available at select LCBO beer stores and grocery stores. Go online to their website, kingsvillebrewery.com, in order to take out at the tap house or have beer delivered for free in Essex County. Cheers to the everyday adventure. Thank you, Kingsville Brewery.
Where's my shirt?
I purchased this out of my own pocket. So you can go talk to Isabel or Mark. We can see if we can get some.
I'd love to talk to Mark right now. You know,
He seems to be the hardest guy to come by. So what was happening in Kingsville?
Well, I think we had a whole show planned.
Yeah.
We had some great content lined up.
the Blue Jays.
Such a run at the end of the season. One short.
Great end of season.
One short.
There goes that prediction.
Yes. There was something on Facebook.
So close.
There's something on Facebook, though. I don't know. Was it...
Before the 6-hour blip?
Oh, yeah. Well, before that. Oh, Jesus.
This might have been what shut it down.
Exactly. It probably was. So there's a lot of concern in Kingsville about the Santa Claus Parade.
Santa Claus Parade?
No.
Guys, it's the most popular thing in all of Kingsville. Nobody's talking about the new Tim Hortons. Nobody's talking about Starbucks anymore.
No one even cares that Division Road North is closed.
Well, it's opening again soon, as long as it's on track.
It's on track. Weather's cooperating a little bit this
3
week.
days.
So.
All we got to get is the second concession or Road 2 back open. Sorry, that's old terminology. And then we'll be fine. Traffic will flow again.
Right. Get to check out the new roadways that are in place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yes, my Facebook feed was inundated with concern about the Santa Claus Parade. And this year, for the first time in 13 years with the Windsor Parade Corporation is not holding the Kingsville Santa Claus Parade. And this created such a rift on Facebook. It probably did shut it down yesterday.
It might have.
I think that's what it was.
Just there was such confusion and animosity and, people were beside themselves.
I was surprised at the aggravation that it caused. It's a great event. It is a fantastic thing that gets a community out. But there are far bigger things that have occurred in the last 18 to 24 months that received no attention. But don't threaten Santa.
No, the Santa Claus Parade is north polarizing. What the elf is going on in Kingsville?
So Nelson, we got to break down some of the clauses in this contract that were a little bit contentious.
Okay.
The
Claus. Oh, jeez, did it? I was waiting for him.
Mr. and Mrs. Yes.
Oh. But yeah, this came somewhat from the blind side of everyone. No one was really talking about the Santa Claus Parade until there was an announcement on the Windsor Parade Corporation's Facebook. And what it basically detailed was that there was the lack of the ability to come to an agreement, and that, unfortunately, they wouldn't be holding it, which I think this caused the tizzy that, what? The town's not going to pay?
I'm not sure if it was worded that way, though.
Okay, well, how was it worded?
I think it said something a little bit closer to the phrasing that there would be no parade in the town of Kingsville. Now, and you know what? Before we get into the announcement, let's get into how it got there. So, in a normal year, and I would assume, Nelson, that this year would be no different. But when do those negotiations begin?
Right. Well, typically, again, with our Fantasy Lights committee, we meet annually. So we're going around each month or annually, monthly, going around to discussing the different components of what Fantasy Lights brings. So the opening night, basically kickoff is the Santa Claus parade, is the big opening event with Santa Claus to help celebrate the new season and open up our tradition that we have here in our community. And traditionally, we would normally start having those discussions March and April, which we did at the committee level. But at the time this year, again, because of the pandemic and obviously the lockdown and the concerns of the ability of actually hosting a parade, we weren't able to really, start negotiations. We discussed with Windsor Parade Corp representatives about, what's going on. Are you permitted to have parades? And early on in the year, they couldn't. So the health unit didn't allow that as an event that we could bring people together. So that was already everything put on hold from that perspective.
And sorry to cut you off, Nelson, but the decision was at that point then parade, not drive-through parade.
Correct. We were already reviewing, what was the reverse parade like the previous year, and no one was really happy with the turnout. We wanted to see more activity, and it was difficult. Absolutely, and no one had a really successful reverse parade kind of concept. Although we tried it, it was a complete shift to try to accommodate because of the pandemic, and it still wasn't the same results we wanted to do. But at the same time, it was still an effort. And I think it's that same response you're hearing from the community that we need to make an effort. We want to see a parade. We want to try to, have Santa come visit Kingsville on his annual visit for us ahead of the big Christmas day. And people are excited about that. So when our committee started talking about, well, what happens if we have to cancel? So during those preliminary meetings and planning, we discussed, well, what if we have to cancel, and we know we have a budget line of $12,000 that we sponsor the Windsor Parade Corporation with, that we have for the past a couple of years at that amount. But we also wanted to ensure that the monies that we invest would be protected if there was a cancellation. Like, we just didn't want to hand over money and not have an event, or make sure it's carried over to the next year. And that was kind of the language we wanted to talk about and include into the contract this year, which is the big difference from prior.
So at what point then did those negotiations break off, or what was stalling it? Was it that deposit discussion?
Not even. I mean, let's go back to August when we finally it was clearly noted that the health unit said you can have the parade. So it was just August. Normally June, July, we already know. Mm-hmm. So August, we're already a couple months away from having the big event, and we had our meeting, and the committee confirmed, yes, we want to have a traditional parade with Santa Claus. We are going to have it on opening night. We want to, ensure that there isn't going to be any, other concerns or issues. And our committee was just asking questions like, so what is the number of floats that we can anticipate? Because it's been a couple of years, and we were asking those questions. And the Parade Corporation was very upfront with us, and they told us, we have, our committed floats that they've created. With the Kingsville, tech class, the tech zone helped create the float for Santa, the new one that was introduced a couple of years ago. So again, everything has been really community oriented. So they were outlining those services. We talked about bands because obviously with the American contribution of bands and participation in our parade, that didn't look like it was going to happen this year either. So again, we started talking about what's the parade going to feature. And those were the discussions. However, in August, after we gave the go-ahead to work with WPC, start entering into the negotiations contract, we had a couple of discussions with them. We didn't get the paperwork to them, though, until basically last Friday. And that was part of the concern when we had our meeting on, basically it was the mid of September when we had our last meeting that we held. And they just it felt like we were ready to go. We outlined the timelines because we knew they were short. The committee said, "Yep, let's go ahead. Let's create we adopted a motion to enter into the agreement, and the agreement would come to council on October 12th, along with the required cert process, so that the road closures and all the safety things were in place." So that was just last Tuesday, a week from today. So that's how tight things were. But the Parade Corp left there thinking, okay, we're good. The next day, the cert application was sent to the Parade Corp to start to work through. There were some updates and amendments on the other cert process as we've amended how our committees work. PRAC would be the place, our Public Parks, Recreation, Arts, Culture Committee were the ones that would approve the cert applications previously. But with the reconfiguration of all the committees and PRAC being brought into a committee of a whole, that changed the process. So we changed the application process, and that created some new confusion for something that we've had for years going on. That was a new component that was separate from a committee. So we went to an in-house administration work with police, fire, EMS, basically the same steps that CERT looks at, the special events, and then provides a recommendation back to council. So some of the changes there created a little bit of a delay and concern and questions that the Once Parade Corp never had before. So that caused a little bit of a different chain of events from what they're used to. And then the contract itself wasn't sent to them until the Friday morning. And they were already, concerned about having another 5 days to just work through those terms. And they said they were backing out. And we were kind of surprised because there's only 2 or 3 terms that, we really needed to discuss and we could have worked on. And we felt we were willing to work with them even over the weekend. But I understand we have to recognize Kingsville's Parade is the first one out of the gate for the season. Amherstburg is later. You have the December ones. Ours is about 30 some days away. And we needed to have everything in place before they were comfortable. And, for them to book the talents, I understand. We get it. But I think we were still willing to work with them. But the announcement came more of a surprise to us as we were still trying to identify opportunities to work with them and work through the changes in the contract.
Now, some of it, I would think, and maybe I'm wrong, but some of those things that you're outlining that would need to come to committee of the whole, it seems like you could probably handle some of that with special meetings. It might be able to be done. I believe there is an actual virtual vote part of the rules of procedure now, the procedural bylaw. So there would be ways around having to wait for that one singular monthly meeting, wouldn't there?
For sure. But again, we were all aware last Tuesday that October 12th was our date to present to council the contract, the request for approval of the contract, and the cert application to ensure that everything was ready to go. So a week from today, we would be deciding on it and everything would be going forward. The new process with CERT, we were calling a special CERT meeting in advance just for the parade event. Our staff administration, our emergency services were willing to meet and go over the application and identify the areas that aren't new. It's the same parade route from the previous years, except it's a true parade. And ensuring we have the police at the right locations, ensuring we have the volunteer base in terms of securing the crossroads and where all the barricades are. Again, being safe and working from that perspective.
Now, and playing devil's advocate a little bit, I mean, the town is fairly well versed now in shutting down Main Street and Division. You would think that there's probably not a whole lot of changes that would need to happen from some of the work that's already that staff are used to having to implement every week during open streets. Mm-hmm. Was there a significant change in some of those requirements for the parade?
Not for the parade, not for the route. Everything is basically the same. It ensures the applicant has the proper insurance in place. I don't think any of that was really the concerns of the day. Certainly, part of the concerns we have as council members and from the committee level was we still question the unfortunate delay of the contract actually going to Windsor Parade Corp that late. And our administration has acknowledged that. They've certainly apologized for the delay in coming forward, but it's not without the effort of having those changes made and then brought forward. We received the updated version of the contract. There was the 2 versions, the long-standing one that was the 1-page long contract that had been used previously, last year we adopted the new format, which was 4 pages, really just, identified who was who and who did what and what was responsible, kind of back and forth. So we were going back to that same 4-page format. We added clauses that the committee was concerned about in terms of protecting the taxpayers' funds, ensuring if there's a cancellation, yes, we'll put a deposit down, whatever that would have eventually been. And then, have the security that if there was a cancellation, if the pandemic said no more parades, like the day before or the day of, because everything's happening on a Friday when they make announcements. So we were trying to ensure that the municipality was protected that way, and that any of the funds that we committed to it would, or a portion of the funds would be allocated to the next year. Again, just looking for the financial investment from the town.
So in your point of view, who made the decision that Windsor Parade Corporation wasn't going to be part of the parade?
It was definitely them. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were concerned by the timelines. I understand the pressure that we were in. We were all in the same boat. We were willing to work with them in terms of the cert. So again, we set up a special meeting up on their request as soon as we possibly could so that we could address it, give them time to complete their cert application. Again, unfortunately, the contract language wasn't produced as quick as we had hoped. And that's certainly, I think, just aggravated the entire thing and put more pressure on and stress on a not-for-profit board of directors. And again, I understand it because we've done the parade for years. I get the process. I get the planning they need to do in advance. Unfortunately, this is we got just caught up in that time lapse, and
which kind of brings on the next area. So if the town is now going to handle this parade, which any further questions?
I would like to interject just because Nelson has stated that. The parade or the town's stance on it. And I did reach out today to the Parade Corporation. And if I can maybe just offer their comments at this point, and then we can go on to the next step. Mm-hmm. Does that work for you guys? Mm-hmm. Or do you have another question directly pertaining to?
The only question I would have is would, if you found out, if the Parade Corporation walked away, when were you notified that they were walking away?
Mm-hmm. So officially we heard Friday. They had sent out an email to me late Thursday night saying they were concerned about the time delays and they were questioning whether they could still do it. So Friday connected with them again and understanding, where they were and identified that, our director would be getting in touch with them that day, the Friday, with the contract for them to review. Again, recognizing it's several days late for their consideration. So I think it was just part of the rationale why they just didn't feel there was enough time. They all have working lives as well from their community. So we get it. I mean, it's not 100% their fault or our fault. We all contributed to the place we were. We were tardy, absolutely. I mean, I can accept the responsibility from administration that we couldn't get it ready in time. And as much as we tried in an effort to get it there, it just didn't work for us on the timeliness. So
the town knew before the Facebook post?
No, we didn't know that they were going to make that post. We tried to reach out to them during the day, and we hadn't had a response back from them. But they weren't aware. I was aware that that risk was there, absolutely. But formally, it came to us, like to me. I knew because it was not sent to administration saying we're not doing it. But we knew it was the writing was on the wall.
Okay, unique way. It was a very unique way. It's like breaking up with a boyfriend over text, right?
I just passed a note in class.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of like anyway. That.
Yeah. I mean, the announcement came as a surprise, especially the tone of the announcement. Like it wasn't just a straight announcement.
Yeah, I was just like candy coating it earlier until we got into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
But you had a conversation, Steve.
Yeah, I did. I reached out to the Parade Corporation. It was actually Maggie DeRoche, who's a board member with the Windsor Parade Corporation, did phone me back, and I said, "What's the corporation's stance?" And she said, "Our stance is we could not reach an agreement with the town of Kingsville." So I kind of pushed her a little bit, and I just said, there are people who are questioning whether this is just sour grapes on your part. Maggie is a former employee of the town of Kingsville. And she said, I have no reason to have sour grapes. She said, I had a great 10 years with the town of Kingsville and I moved on. And that was as far as she went on that. She did note too that there was never any risk management issues with the Parade Corporation when the 13 years they held the parade in Kingsville. She said, and had nothing. There was nothing financial as far as like no financial concerns as to the reasons as to why it didn't work this year. So
it sounds like just it was time pressured execution drove some excess factors into the decision making process.
Now there was, and we touched on it a little bit. I mean, that post had some wording that
go
flamed
on.
that fueled the flames, right?
Yeah,
and I'm sure that it's you have to sometimes question, was it a mistake?
Christmas is canceled.
Yeah, was it a mistake to post it that way? Was there some intent? It's no one knows. No one even knows who posted it. I mean, no one knows who behind, other than the person that posted it, and probably the Parade Corporation Board of Directors, who was the one that put that on Facebook. But the way that it was worded at first glance was, and I think the media picked up on it, which didn't help, was that they didn't come to an agreement, so there will be no parade this year in Kingsville. And then we're sitting here dedicating a good chunk of a podcast to the Santa Claus Parade.
Still up there. The official Facebook post is, Windsor Parade Corporation is saddened to announce that after 13 years as the organizer and presenter of the Kingsville Santa Claus Parade, that we are unable to ratify a contract or special event application with the Kingsville administration for the production of the 2021 Santa Claus Parade. Unfortunately, time constraints have made this an impossibility for this year and challenge our ability to provide the families of Kingsville with the type of event that they have come to expect from us. We wish to extend sincere thanks to Deputy Mayor Gord Queen and Mayor Nelson Santos for their tireless efforts to support this event. We sincerely hope that in 2022 that contractual obligations can be achieved sooner to allow for the successful production of the parade.
Now, I do think that wording may have changed.
I was just going to say,
because at no point in that does it refer to what. And I didn't see the original.
There's one more paragraph. It says, we invite you to join us in Amherstburg on November 27 or Essex on December 11 for those Christmas parades, which are organized by the Windsor Parade Corporation. Regretfully, the WPC.
So and a good indication that it changed is because a reporter at Blackburn Radio wrote, and as Steve will attest, in probably poor reporter judgment, based an entire story on a Facebook post which said that there would be no parade in the town of Kingsville, that quoted direct lines from the Facebook page. So and then misappropriated them to specific people, which is probably not good reporting standards.
Well, the media wouldn't do that.
But it's
let's not lump all the media together.
Not print
There's
media.
some good.
Listen, print media was the best media.
I like Blackburn. What?
That's why it's gone. Right?
Blackburn's is okay.
But yeah,
Conflict.
revisionist history.
So
Well, he worked for them because his name's in the company.
He's part of the cheer.
He wanted it to be called Kevin Blackburn Radio.
You should meet Mr. Byrne.
Yes, Mr. Black.
He's a real treat.
Nothing like Mr. Black.
And Nelson, we're not going to ask you to comment on that part of it because that's mudslinging. But really, there was some pretty verbose language. Now, one good use of the word, right? Verbose. I was working on that all day.
Yeah,
like I said,
vitriol,
you know what?
Was mine. Vitriol.
That's a good one too.
See.
So Nelson, I will ask you to mudsling on
Plethora of
this.
Fantastic terms coming up.
Like a whole Thanksgiving cornucopia of terms.
Oh, that's aptly timed.
Thank you.
Excellent.
What
So
a yam.
I will ask you this. Is there any concerns?
Oh, this just in. News. The Blackburn Radio article no longer posted on Blackburn.
Oh, isn't that interesting? That's not how you do a correction.
They got Blackburn.
I'm so going to hurt my hand smacking that bell one day. Vitriol. Anyway.
So anyway.
Verbose, folks.
There were some interesting shares of that post. One of them would be Well, I mean, it's public. One of them was the current BIA coordinator who who shared the post with some difficult language. There was some comments from Deputy Mayor Gord Queen on the post that seemed to be against the town, that weren't favorable. Did that surprise you? Because it seemed like everyone was sort of on the same page, the way that you explained it.
Well, certainly the language that came out surprised us, because we had been working right up to that last minute to get information, clarifications. I know I was answering questions about the CERT document that was provided to them in advance. So it looked like everything was going, full steam ahead to try to get this done in short order. The biggest challenge is when we saw those remarks and the slants, obviously, against the municipality. That came as a surprise. We it's one thing to not be able to complete an agreement or a contract. It's another thing to kind of blow it up there to say we have it. We were at. It sounded like we were going back and forth at the table and just couldn't come up to with an agreement. That's not what the process was. It was really a time delay. It was an unfortunate transfer of documents at the last hour. I'll call it last hour. Because we had basically a week to put everything else together to bring it to council meeting. So it was really a time crunch. We never put any personality onto it. I mean, our committee discussed back and forth for months. Do we do our own parade or do we go with Windsor Parade Corporation? We had that discussion in the early part of the year as well, because of we didn't know what it was going to look like. So we were trying to cover both bases at the same time, because we don't know what this pandemic was going to look like now through wave 4, right? So, unfortunately, those comments that came through surprised a lot of members of council, longtime volunteers at the parade. No one wanted to see the parade not come. And I think that was part of probably the miscommunication and the misinformation was just because Windsor Parade Corp wasn't there wouldn't try to be an effort to bring, Santa still. And I think that's where the community really rallied. Again, between Friday and Saturday, we were already hearing from the community saying we're ready to help the municipality put a parade together and work on it, right?
And that's where I was going with. Now that made the municipality very reactionary to this media, this sentiment, this kind of movement as to, well, you screwed it up, we don't like you, kind of thing. So the post that came Monday regarding the actual municipality hosting the Santa Claus parade. So, as quoted, as the chair of the Kingsville Fantasy Lights Committee, I was disheartened to learn about the decision of the Windsor Parade Corporation on social media, said Councillor Tony Gaffin. However, I believe the strength of the Kingsville community as a whole is far stronger. As a community, we will unite to create a parade experience that is distinctly us and uniquely Kingsville. So this, I guess you could perceive it as, hey, don't think that we weren't considering a parade for the town at all, and don't perceive whatever this bad message that was broadcast out there. Now, with having to react this quickly, and the parade being on November 20th,
yes,
without a functional formed committee and or group that's associated with actually facilitating an event of this sort, what's that going to look like?
Right. So we had a meeting last night with our festival committee to help identify. So now we're fortunate. We have a volunteer member committee that they participate. They are very active. They get engaged with whether it's the opening night or whether it's special events throughout the season. They're active and they participate, whether they're driving a train or whether they're helping, with the old sip and shop or events with Santa.
We call it the Tesla.
It's the Tesla.
The Tesla now.
You guys call it
the Tesla train.
Excellent. Can't wait to
Elon's best.
break it out on the parade day.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait. We're gonna actually do a broadcast from the train. We'll be on the third car.
Yeah. So throughout the day, again, our staff were fielding, calls and interest about parade entries. We put out a parade entry online so people can fill it out, put their float within the parade. I mean, what makes a great parade is having, those entries, whether you're walking, you're riding, we're pursuing, bands that may be able to still participate. Again, we're trying to create that environment for Santa to feel very welcome.
The function and the organization is both administratively based and volunteer based, or is this assigned directly to any one of the administration in order to chair the group of volunteers?
Right. So It's a collective. So yes, our administration is taking the lead on that in terms of, receiving all the interest online from the different floats. So they're already starting to roster that. I think we're up to 12 floats as of before going on air tonight. So we're getting great interest from the community generated floats and presenters. We're looking at, we've put together a schedule for volunteers where we need, parade marshals, where we need support for security at barricades. That's already shaped up, and we're starting to fill those positions, but we're still looking for volunteers. So anyone in the community that, has some time, they can still catch the parade from the barricade area and enjoy the floats go by. So please check our www.kingsville.ca
We'll get there.
/events. Okay, you'll get there.
Yeah.
So with Open Streets, we were fortunate to be able to acquire Amanda Wilms to basically chair and hold the event each weekend. Will this be something that will fall on a part-time staffer or a full-time staffer in order to help organize the group and the execution? Because the reason why I ask is we don't have a whole lot of time, and everybody's busy with day to day. So there may be the concern that this might be overtaxing somebody in order to make sure that this execution, we've got a tall bill of goods to deliver.
Well, there's a corporation dedicated to putting on parades that was concerned it was going to
correct
be not a lot of time.
So, in the sake of, this statement that was put out by Councillor Gaffin, we definitely got to make sure that this event is a home run, or else, that further kind of adds fuel to the fire that was already stoked by
I guess
another Facebook group.
Yeah, holding parades isn't new to the town. I mean, you pick different festivals that we've held. We do host our community parades, so we have an infrastructure that's ready to proceed with that. I mean, I know we're not having a Migration Festival parade this year, but we have the same internal positions and people that helped put that off in the past. And that infrastructure is still there. We're a little bit more advanced now because of obviously the experience with Windsor Parade, all the cert applications that we've processed. So our fire, police, EMS, we already know what we're going to be addressing. We're speaking with the police in terms of ensuring we have their presence that evening as per usual for a special event. But the nitty gritty in terms of the volunteer coordinators, it's leading with our program manager right now. So Karen Loney is taking the lead there. We have a staffer from the town part-time coordinating with that. But yeah, maybe we got to look at hiring a coordinator specific to this event on a one-time basis right now to be able to meet all these timelines.
Yeah.
And you were able to get in touch with Santa. He's still able to make it.
I think he blocks that day off every year just for us, right? And I think we got a standing reservation. So
we're good. Santa's good.
I won't speak for Santa, but his suit will be ready.
We put the letter in the mailbox. See if he gets it. Is it HOHOHO?
HOHOHO.
Yes.
Yeah. He's going to be there to flip the switch for us.
Make sure he gets it.
It was like Nerf tossing you a postie.
There you go.
And he'll have a sleigh.
We're not sure what his sleigh is going to look like. He'll have a ride.
Interesting.
Ooh.
Interesting.
A new train.
Yeah, Tesla.
Oh.
Santa and a Tesla.
Maybe Santa will deliver the train.
That'd be fantastic. That's the best Christmas present.
And us.
Yeah.
In car 3.
We can't be after Santa.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No,
I'll practice
we
my
will be
way.
lost. No.
Who's that fat bald guy? Oh, that's just Dave. What's Dave doing?
He's hearing you. He can see you, what you're doing right now.
I know he can't.
No,
come on.
His elves aren't out yet.
Oh, he's
they're out all the
It's not
time.
even Halloween.
You
What
know.
are you talking about?
Come on.
See,
They come until November when the Christmas music starts.
We got-
WNIC.
Oh, don't remind me. We haven't even gone through Migration Fest yet. Which, by the way,
Hold on. Before we get to Migration Fest, can we just, for one quick second, acknowledge the ridiculousness of night parades?
No. No.
See, this is
I'm not debating this.
We've had, in all transparency, every one of our listeners, all 12 of you, we have had this conversation prior to this ever happening. And this is truthful. Kevin went on a good solid 45-minute rant with Steve and I one day about
Probably in April.
It was. I think we were having beers thinking, hey, if this podcast thing goes well, what are we going to talk about?
And then I said, let me tell you about my absolute despisal of night parades. I hate them.
Why do you hate them so much?
Let me paint a little picture for you.
Take us on a walk.
So my kids are little. They're this is a few years ago, so I want to say like around 4 and 2. So Sebastian is in the stroller and Mia's, walking, and we're, at the corner of Spruce and Main, and it's freezing.
It's
Wintertime.
Yeah.
It's still cold in
Nighttime.
the day,
It's
but-
dark. Sebastian's crying because he's cold and it's dark.
His parents
Mia's falling asleep because it's like 7:30 at night and it's freezing and she's being held. And both of them miss Santa because we had to leave because of the screaming and the falling asleep. And that is the experience for, I want to say, 95% of parents that have kids under 5. And who else are we doing Santa Claus parades for? The whole point is to bring Santa to town so that all the kids can say, look, there's Santa. I get to actually see him.
Well, he comes back for breakfast and he comes back for dinner. And the whole idea of this is to kick off the fantasy of lights, which is ineffective during the daytime.
So let me explain to you the where everything goes
I was
wrong.
ordering. Come on.
Let me tell you where everything goes wrong. Okay. So, and I've been at the dinner because EDDK serves at the Santa Claus parade dinner
Dinner for Santa.
before.
Yep.
So I've been there slugging salad, handing it out.
Pause. Are we doing that this year?
Doesn't look like it, no. So we're not going to have dinner with Santa.
Oh, you're free that night. So you get the parade.
Well, lettuce flying everywhere, and Santa's hanging out, and it's daytime, and it's like, oh, look it's daytime, and it's warm out, and Santa's here hanging out, and you can come and have dinner, and then we're gonna wait for a bit so that all these people that have to go battle traffic, leaving the dinner to try and find some clogged artery that they can go stand at in the dark, so that Santa can then an hour later, it's already dark, roll through town to come back to the exact same spot and then flick the switch.
Sure.
It's asinine.
Switch isn't going to flick itself.
Here's how it goes. 3:30, parade starts. All the people can line up. It's during the day. They can shop downtown if they want. Parade starts. It lasts about an hour and a half to go for the parade to make its way from one end to the other. An hour. So let's bump it. Let's say 4 then. Around 5, it's getting dark.
Yeah.
So then Santa's rolling through just as it's getting dark when he pulls into Lakeside Park. Instead of waiting for the hour or so for that it's dark at the beginning of the parade, it's dark at the end of the parade. And then they go flick the switch, and then Santa walks into Lakeside Pavilion, and they can do dinner, or they could do hot chocolate, and kid could go see Santa, and then they got bands and fireworks and everything, all just partying it up in Lakeside Park when kids are still awake instead of when they're asleep and already cold.
So this thing's been around for almost 30 years, and not once has he come to Fantasy Lights Committee to make this presentation.
I have brought this up several times, just not to the committee, because I honestly figured that these were
to talk to.
for 13
You don't
years.
rent on a podcast because
For 13 years, there was a corporation that ran the parade, and I have brought it up to the corporation that told me no because we do it at nighttime.
Was it a part of your campaign when you ran for town council?
It actually was.
Correct.
Thank you. It was part of my campaign.
You had the flyer.
It's a little known fact.
I brought this up at all candidates meetings in 2018. So all of the issues that the town of Kingsville is dealing with now would have been solved
If you elected Kevin Black.
People think
it's journey we went.
people think this is all BS. No, this has been my soapbox.
Kevin, we've been friends for a few years now. This is probably the 4th or 5th time you've gone on this rant, and it gets better and better because now there's more fuel.
That was good. Yeah.
3 out of 4 parades in Kingsville are held during the daytime.
Right. And the important
But
one
nobody
is
wants to see
the
honkers.
important
They want
one
to
that-
see Santa.
Yeah, they want to see Santa. The one that everyone wants the kids at is the one that's held when they're sleeping.
Well, I'll say that of all the parades my kids have been to, they've loved all of them all.
Yeah. That's great.
But I never ran for council, so I don't really have a...
No platform. No. So
can we discuss this further for next year? It's too soon now.
Can I
Fine.
chime
Next year's, like, it's an election year next year. Like, bring it up to all the people running for council then.
Can I chime in? May I? Sir?
It'll be a standing question on every time we have a candidate in. So what's your platform on Santa Claus parades?
Put it on the ballot.
We'll have a referendum.
Listen, if we end up doing the meet the candidates for this next election, you're darn right I'm asking that question. I host it again?
How many?
You're hosting it.
Yeah.
How many signatures do we need for a ballot question?
I think you need a motion by council to put it on the ballot.
Ooh, that'd be great.
By a certain date.
Councilors, given the circumstances surrounding the 2021 Kingsville Santa Claus
All right,
parade.
we've got a guest here. Let's get back.
Yeah. Fine. So, what possibility? Well, I haven't even said what I feel about night parades.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Like,
I'll stop.
it's all about the twinkling of the lights. So as long as we've got that with it, keeping in mind,
God, who cares?
Applause.
That's it.
Applause.
It's the twinkle of the lights.
There we go.
So depending on whether or not it's dusk, let's just hope it's a very overcast afternoon to get the
Do
twinkle.
we need more lights? We have a whole fantasy of lights. Like the park is a fantasy of lights. We
Yes.
don't need a parade of lights. We already have a fantasy of them.
Oh, the romance is lost on him.
The town paid thousands for a train to be able to sit in to go around and see the lights. I don't need to see more lights driving down Main Street. There's enough lights.
Thank you, Mr. Dewey, and all the students.
We're
at
not
Kingsville
talking
High
greenhouse
School.
here, are we?
No,
Yes.
that was my closer. That was my closer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Stealing my thunder. Anyway,
Cut, and we'll
No,
we'll
that's fine.
reshoot.
That's fine.
More
So,
lights.
given the circumstances and this man's very agitated point of view, can we please consider a late afternoon, early evening start for the Kingsville 2021 Town of Kingsville Santa Claus Parade?
Well, we had the discussion Monday night. We talked about what about the opportunity to advance it a little bit. We have family parents who are volunteers on the committee who had the same discussion and questioned what would be a good time, because some of that time would overlap over a dinner hour. So then they noted their children would be a little upset and not in the mood to watch Santa because they're hungry.
So then you're done at 6 and you go out for dinner.
Excellent. But we have the show must go on, opening ceremonies and everything that follows. So it's a little bit of a challenge, and not having dinner at the park pavilion this year did throw a little bit of a wrench into that, for sure. So this year is an awkward year to try to introduce something at this hour.
She's saying no.
Yeah,
You know what?
committee said no.
She's
We
saying
said
no.
I absolutely respect that decision for this year. But I do think that it should wholeheartedly be considered as a possibility for next year.
Next year's an election, right? We can do this.
Yeah, we'll just vote the ones out that say no.
Can we just vote them all out anyway?
Oh, hey,
We need someone.
Sitting
Oh,
member.
no, we'll keep him.
democracy is great. That's why we have the elections.
Precisely. Hey, everyone should get out and vote, whether it be municipally or federally or locally. You have the right and should.
And don't forget provincially next year.
Yes,
Yeah,
provincially as
June.
well. Yes, right. Correct. So, hopefully this committee is able to get traction quickly in order to make sure that the main issues surrounding the formulation of this parade get handled, so that any of the ancillary things that might come up have the ability to have the proper amount of attention. Because I know, having helped with the open streets, there's a lot of things that go into a big public event like that, and especially with such a short timeline and time span, and other people having other duties to do. Hopefully we do see a lot of people turn out for volunteer work in order to help facilitate it. Which, if you really want to, promote that website now, now's your time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the community response has been superb in terms of wanting to come out, support, volunteer. Where do you need us? The response from our service clubs and just residents as a whole is overwhelming. And again, it speaks to the sense of community we have here in Kingsville. It speaks to, this is an event that is a tradition that everyone really does look forward to, and recognizing it's going to come back as a true parade. Everyone's excited. It's been a long year. Everyone's on their last nerve, and the anxiety that's out there. This is an event that's going to help us try to put that aside for that, at least that one night, and start to bring back what does it mean to be in Kingsville, and what is Christmas to you, and Christmas parade in Kingsville is what it means to a lot of people.
Sure. And we start off with Migration Fest next weekend, the 14th through the 17th. So, it's not the full Migration Fest as years. Again, no Migration Fest parade. However, Steve, yeah. 2 parades in 3 weeks? Impossible.
But there's some great events they've tied into Migration
Yes,
Fest
there
this
are.
year.
Absolutely.
Talks on our heritage history. It's
Yeah.
great.
At Jack Miner, of course, being the centerpiece of the area, hence the Migration Fest and whatnot. So that'll kind of lead into the whole holiday, the Thanksgiving and Migration Fest, and right on into November for little Santa Claus parade. So
Now, to enter a float, is there a cost associated?
Nope.
Free.
No cost. It's free. Just register in advance so that we can get our marshals in place to find you a number and a spot on the parade route, and we'll coordinate it on parade night.
So
And-
I'm gonna ride a bike in it.
Ooh.
Just do it.
With some lights just trailing behind?
No
Because why
lights
not?
because you don't like the lights. So I'm doing a lightless.
Just have like a headlamp.
headlight.
We didn't talk about it, but parade cost, normally that cost for Windsor Parade Corp was $12,000. Was it anticipated to be the same this
Yeah,
year?
same. That's what was budgeted. That was what was the agreement.
It wasn't a dollar value. It was no money concerns.
Nope.
There was some comments, so it was never a money issue.
That was all part of the same contract that we were looking to bring forward.
The parade company substantiated that as
Yeah.
well, right, in their statement. So.
yeah, and then that money
That's
will
all I
just
can say. Is
at this point that money will just hang out in a reserve until it's decided what's going to happen.
So as we plan for this parade, again, we're trying to seek out some bands, and it always costs money to bring bands. So if there's an opportunity to contract a band to come or pay them, that's what happens. Where we're hoping to be able to draw some in. Hopefully, we would use the funds from that, because that's basically how the funds for any parade happen. So, for example, when we did Migration Festival Parade, we would budget, say, $8,000, and that covers for participants to come in, and that's usually paying for band, their travel cost. It's all agreed with them as to what it would take to bring them in.
Of course, we have the associated band as well, so we've always got at least one locally that we can
Hopefully,
go on.
again,
Yeah.
the pandemic's impacted their
Yeah, but there's
their
one locally,
rehearsals.
is what I'm saying. We don't have to worry about
Kingsville
drawing
Essex Associate Band has been our true pride, over 80 years now.
Maybe we can get Jody or Fool to play.
I was just going to say,
Throw
we
on a
get this.
flatbed.
Jody, get up there. Do the guitar thing. Oh, yeah. Gary's going to do it. Oh, yeah, and we've got the Kingsville Music Society, too, which I'm sure would
Yes.
be more than happy to help
They're,
with their involvement.
they're
in the
on
community.
board. They've again communicated with us. Again, just another one of the groups helping bring music and some entertainment along the route.
Well,
That's great.
I think it's, all the intentions are well. Hopefully, the execution is just that, so that all the efforts aren't for nothing, and we have a very successful event in lieu of what had been for the last 13 years.
All we need is one float with Santa on it.
And the guys from that
And lots of lights.
Yeah,
There we
lights.
go.
Candy.
You're not allowed to throw candy.
No. Oh, is that
No,
is that
you have
banned
to
this
hand
year?
it off.
Yeah, you just
Yes.
hand it. You have to have walkers.
Walkers.
Yeah.
How many steps you got today? I know a walker. He's professional. So, Mr. Mayor Santos, will we have you here? Speaking of fantasy of lights, noticing every morning,
How about the nightmare of lights?
the nightmare of lights is still occurring. Every morning, driving, and because I work locally now, I'm headed towards Leamington rather than away from the blinding lights in the sky, as my career took me to Windsor and Detroit. When is the light abatement bylaw enforcement fully taking place? When do our local greenhouses have to be compliant?
Yeah, so each one that we've addressed has either complied or it has an agreement to comply waiting on the installation. We're now in October. I have to do a review to see. We're down to a couple greenhouse growers that we're still waiting, and it's just the same two. Again, a significant number of our growers have come on board, and we will be enforcing now. They've all been given the notice.
Yep.
And
I'm sure we can't say who, but
Nope.
you could probably tell if you walk outside.
Yep. Yeah, that's why it wasn't singling
blinding
anyone out.
light.
Just asking for, like, hey, when morning is coming at 4 a.m., hey, oh my gosh, I kind of take notice a little bit. So we're expecting all compliance with these orders to be effective in the next month and a half, because what this cycle kind of perpetuates itself once people start realizing is that the days get shorter. That's daylight longer artificially. So
Right. So for the growers that are not in compliance now, they would be getting visits from our bylaw officers. They have their staggered shifts. So they are out there and they're doing their job. And we'll see, results at the end if they do comply or if they
Interesting.
take their fines.
Has had been some discussions around legal action? Has that progressed at all, or is that because the summer is sort of on hold?
We haven't seen anything because, again, we got very good cooperation from the growers. I mean, there are the specific growers, like the Part 2 cannabis designated growers that have not been very good communications with us and have ignored us, basically. So those
You've
will
got
be,
those addresses, right?
yeah,
So they'll
absolutely.
weed them out.
Yeah.
Good on you. Good on you.
So,
An hour in.
So those are the ones that we know we're going to be a challenge from day one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How have those Part 2s been recently? Because I've heard, and this is completely unsubstantiated,
Speculation.
speculation
speculation.
that maybe some of those crops were getting taken out and they were leaving town. Have you heard anything to that?
I mean, obviously, with the police investigations that have disrupted a few of those, I don't believe many of those are operating to what we had seen in the past. But certainly, there's new regulations that Health Canada is bringing in place regarding the licensing that we should be seeing soon. And I think that's impacting the existing licenses that they had because they won't be potentially renewing them. So everyone is in a different kind of position. We have to kind of just keep our tabs on with Health Canada and their website that kind of identifies where the applications are. And it's surprising, to what degree we're seeing them not as proliferant as they were, I guess. In the past.
Good word.
It's not as lucrative. Yeah. See, there's a big $2 word day. Like lucrative.
That's great. Proliferant. That's a good one.
Come on, you journalists. You get off on big words like that. You're
love it.
Let's see who can
I
use
love
a
that.
33-letter word.
Yeah. How can I replace like an entire sentence with one ridiculous word no one will know?
Yeah. Hey.
I used to like to write stories like that for radio just to see if I could say them. And usually I couldn't.
Because it takes your 10 seconds of airtime. That
Yeah.
one word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
You're like,
We'll just get into the anti-disestablishmentarianism of it all. And just
I can always rely on Steve.
there it is.
kinda-
There it is.
He knows his vowels.
Many years writing them down. Well, thank you, Mayor Santos, for joining us yet again on this lovely podcast about the town that we are all so very passionate about. Only time will tell about the enforcement problems, issues, and or compliance overall of the greenhouse lights. But that's been a very big hot button topic over the last couple of years. And
Absolutely.
it's up to the municipality for the enforcement, but the growers to comply. So we'll see where that shakes out. And
What's a matter of time before those complaints start coming forward again?
correct, which is why I was kind of alluding to on a future episode of That Kingsville Podcast. Future us will talk about which greenhouses still aren't compliant. And maybe we would have Mayor Santos on again and be like, hey, remember that time back in October we were talking about Santa Claus parade? Yeah, there was also the greenhouse lights. So thank you again for taking time out of your busy day, sir. Greatly appreciate it. And thanks for everyone listening. Don't forget to subscribe, please, because our careers depend on it as amateur podcasters. I know as a young child, I wanted to be a radio DJ and unfortunately didn't choose that career path. So now I'm stuck as a early 40s fat balding man talking to three of my friends here at a table on a Tuesday night. So please subscribe because there's still hope.
I had a double cassette tape deck and I would just record my own podcast.
So did I.
Yeah.
This is why we do this. This is why
Yeah.
we do this. So
This is never a goal.
this is never a goal.
If we're talking about
Kicking
it,
and screaming. Kicking
wasn't.
and screaming.
You seem like you're not enjoying yourself in the least. So, thank you, everyone, for your time. Please don't forget to email us at thatkingsvillepodcast@gmail.com. Or I think we still have a Facebook group. I don't know if anybody really wants to tell us just how horrible we are, but please, don't let the Parade Corporation be the only one spreading bad news about anything in Kingsville. Starting with this episode, we'll leave you with an original song from one of our many talented local artists. Today, we feature Crissi Cochrane singing her latest release, Why, produced by Windsor artists Mike Hargraves and Dane Roberts, with visuals created by Windsor animator Delaney Bodwin. For those of you that follow us on YouTube, you'll get to see this great animated video. Check out Crissi's complete catalog at CrissicCochrane.com. That's CrissicCochrane.com, or on any social media or streaming platform. With that note, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Why did you have to come at the wrong time? in the starlight. There were tears in my eyes. Summer on the mountain, my heart in the ground. You and the shovel and the dirt raining down. Cover the bruises with your lips on mine. One moment in the shadow before you leave me behind. I don't wanna be your friend. I wanna be your everything. Tear down your walls, answer my calls. Why can't this be the beginning of something special? Something special, something. Don't need a reminder, I'm not your type. You and the May Queen, me and my sewing machine. But did you ever tell her who you used to be? You would never need to explain yourself to me. So